Before we get started, there are just a couple quick bits of business I want to cover. First, I apologize for my sick voice this week. I'm not feeling that bad, but I will sound a little different. Second, I released a Halloween video in which I offered to answer people's questions about me or my channel. If you have anything at all you'd like to ask me, feel free to jump back one video and ask in the comment section. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, if you get this joke I made on Twitter, you're f***ing awesome. Friday, October 20th was an important day that most people, even many atheists, aren't aware of. It was Openly Secular Day. On this day, people are encouraged to be as open as they can about their lack of traditional religious belief, both to increase general awareness that we exist and to show others who are doubting that they aren't alone. 2 weeks ago, I participated for the first time, openly announcing my atheism on my personal Facebook account. Now, most people generally knew what I thought of religion, so the point was less about coming out than it was clarifying where my criticism of religion came from, putting the word atheist out there, and letting others know I was a safe person to talk to. It ended up being an interesting experience. I learned a lot from it, and I hope you can too, so I'd like to share the good, the bad, and the weird of what became a week-long roller coaster ride. First, here's my announcement as I posted it. You can pause to read if you'd like, but basically I told people I was an atheist, then explained what that does and does not mean. Then I made it clear to Christians that I still respect them and hope they can respect me. Then I invited them to contact me if they had questions, especially if they struggled with doubts that they were nervous about sharing. As you might suspect, this post got more interaction with people from my past than anything else I've said or done in many years. Surprisingly, though, most of it was not that negative. Keeping it pretty vague, except in cases where I have permission to share or when people offered semi-insulting banalities, here's what happened. First, a surprising number of people liked the post, including Christian friends or family members and some former students from the Christian school where I had worked. I got a handful of crying emojis, but that's a sentiment I can understand and respect. Then the comments started rolling in. Then the private messages. And I ended up being pretty floored by what happened. Before getting into all the drama and the predictable bullshit, I want to discuss the positives. I ended up hearing from a lot of people who shared doubts and struggles with their religion, some privately revealing that they were essentially non-believers. It was amazing the floodgate that I opened up just by identifying myself as a safe point of conversation. I had people I'd known all my life tell me they shared my lack of fundamentalist belief, if not always stated atheism, and relay their struggles of either hiding or opening up about it to others. A pastor I'd been childhood friends with identified himself as sometimes being an atheist, and while I thought this might segue into a sermonizing argument, he actually ended up being very frank about how he saw the logical problems in his belief and struggled to make himself feel God, essentially a story that paralleled my experience as an adult believer. Others messaged me about how they slowly came to disbelief and didn't yet know how to tell their families, for fear of either angering them or leading them to grieve the loss of their souls. Most said that they had few people they felt like they could openly talk to. Some conversations were brief, while others turned into long exchanges of advice and revisiting old experiences through new eyes. One person, a former Christian school student, had started to doubt Christianity in the years following graduation, and she told me she felt less isolated as she started to catch on to where I was coming from. She said that even when I was teaching Christianity, I had seemed to care and never came off as cliquey as many other adults, who apparently didn't seem to think she fit the mold of a typical Christian student, to the extent that the pastor for my response videos felt that extensive contact with her was not the best for his children. As a young adult, she was afraid to truly come out as a non-believer, but many people picked up on the fact that she wasn't devout, and she ended up being shunned to the point that many of her parents' friends were surprised to meet her when she came home to visit, because they didn't even know they had a daughter. It was in this isolated environment that she says her ears perked up when she would hear me make certain comments about things like creationism or religion. This was an especially important story to me, as I'm often worried about my former students and the effect my teaching had on them. To this day, I can remember this student making an offhand but common sense comment about something in the Bible being sexist, and I was quick to sternly remind her that it was God's word she was criticizing. I'm happy that I was able to encourage her and other former students in any small Facebook-level way, and I hope I've been able to convey something of the isolation kids in religious communities can feel, as well as how much it can help when a former adult authority figure steps out and openly expresses what they think they may be processing alone. Other people and I were able to discuss parts of our journeys that opened my eyes to a lot of varying ways people can relate to Christianity, the Bible, and Jesus without being strictly fundamentalist. Many other things came up that revealed a dark side of my childhood religious circle that I had never realized was ever there, including a level of serious, almost Taliban-level sexism. And being able to talk about these things provided a lot of clarity about what my church and school environment was actually like. I can't relay too much more without revealing details about people I don't feel comfortable sharing without permission. But in general, I was amazed by how much positive came from what I shared. Now, of course, there was the other side of this, which of course you always need to brace yourself for. Many people were surprisingly kind about expressing their sorrow that I had lost my way, with one adult from my childhood even telling me that he feared he and others may have failed me in friendship. I assured him that this was not the case, and he responded that he didn't think any less of me and his family would always care about me. But then, of course, there was a string of completely dumb questions you might expect. So where did you come from and why are you here? What is your purpose? Would you say you have faith in scientists? How do you decide what is right and wrong? Why do you believe in empathy? So do you believe in evolution? I do not believe that a true Christian can possibly believe in evolution. But aside from that, my next question is, if evolution is real and not creation, then why can't scientists create anything? If there is no God, how do miracles happen? I mean real ones, the supernatural, unexplainable ones. Then I had a very pleasant guy you've seen in a previous video come and take a giant shit on me in the form of comments like this one, in which he told me, I'm an evil person who rejects Jesus. I take away any chance of hoping the best for me because, in his eyes, I'm steering people away from salvation, and I've declared myself an antichrist who's in opposition to God. If I'm honest, though, the most exasperating part of the experience had nothing to do with direct insults or bad arguments against atheism. It was the amount of effort I had to spend arguing with people about what I actually believed. I knew there were people out there who would say we just want to sin, have no hope, think the world came from nothing, and on and on and on. But I'd underestimated how persistent Christians could be in simply refusing to hear what my actual position is. The number of times people either ignored what I said or kept telling me I believed things I'd explicitly said I didn't is mind-blowing. I couldn't even get to discussing the merits of my position versus theirs because I couldn't even establish my position for the sake of discussion to start with. One even said he wanted to lighten things up by tagging me in the following video.
I was surfing on the internet this summer looking for a summer camp vacation Bible school for my kids, right? And I saw this link. It actually said, Atheist Summer Camp for Kids. Okay. Why are you people not responding to that? It's got to be from God, folks. Where do you start? Atheist Summer Camp for Kids. Do they have campfire songs at the Atheist Summer Camp for Kids? No one loves the little children, all the children of the world. No one hears your lullaby, no one hears you when you cry. No one loves the little children of the world. Reason why we exist, but there's no reason why. Reason why we exist, but there's no reason why. Row, row, row your boat gently down the reef, wallowing, 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 wallowing in your unbelief. You like a round. Evolution, this I know, for Charles Darwin told me so. Accidentally alive, if you're weak you won't survive. No resurrection, no immaculate conception, just natural selection. Charles Darwin told me so. Big Bang. Come on, kids. I am an AT. I am an ATHEIST. And I have NOTHING to give me hope and certainty. And when I DIE, I will be ALONE. Hey!
Essentially, this dumb excuse for a comedian gets laughs out of Christians by misrepresenting atheism in a way that characterizes us as cold-hearted idiots. This, unfortunately, is how most Christians learn about atheists. They hear other Christians say ugly things about us. Then they wander around the insides of churches repeating these ideas to each other until their caricature of us is drilled so deeply into their heads that they can't even comprehend what we're talking about when we try to clarify who we are and what we actually believe. The fact that this f***ing idiot thought he could lighten things up by showing me a video that insults me and my position just shows how much he takes these ideas for granted. Or what a passive-aggressive jackass he is. Maybe both. But in short, be prepared to deal with this if you make your stance known to Christians. Overall, though, this was a worthwhile, yet exhausting and time-consuming experience in many ways. If I could sum up my takeaway, it would be as follows. First, you have no clue how many people around you harbor unshared doubts or are even secret unbelievers. Second, many of these people are just dying to talk to someone, and if you take the first step of putting yourself out there as an atheist, many will be very quick to open up to you. Third, there's power in putting the word atheist out there. I'm a fan of using and normalizing the word for a variety of reasons. But in this case, I learned that you can openly criticize Christianity and make your beliefs pretty darn clear, but there's no substitute for openly identifying yourself, ideally using the word atheist. Closeted unbelievers are extremely skittish for good reason, and many need 100% assurance of where you stand before they'll feel safe talking to you. Actually stating your position will give that to them, as well as showing you're willing to stand up and say who you are. And finally, the reaction of the Christians in your life might not always be what you expect. Most people in my case responded either with graciousness or sorrow upon hearing the news. Some, of course, had different responses, but there wasn't the monolithic surge of negativity you might expect. This, of course, more than anything else on this list, is anecdotal and probably unique to my case, but it just goes to show that you never know what to expect. Of course, identifying as an atheist isn't for everybody. A lot depends on where you live, how you're situated in life, and what support system you have around you. Be sure you know what you're doing and give your decision a lot of thought. And if you need to toss ideas off somebody, feel free to contact me through email, Facebook, or Twitter. But in general, if you can, I would encourage you to do so when the time and place is right. There's a good chance you'll be doing a great service to a lot of people you don't even realize are out there.